Hey guys, Krozjin here, and welcome to our brand new series, Pillars of Eternity. Now, so many of you guys told me to just play whatever I want, whether it be in the comments or through messages, that I figured, you know what? I really love RPGs, so I want to give Pillars of Eternity a shot. The last game I played that was a RPG was Divinity Original Sin, and I absolutely loved that game. I think it is one of the 3 games. It's my top 3 games of all time, for sure. So, fair warning though, probably this first episode is going to be a little slow as we go ahead and create our character and get into the game. But hopefully starting next episode, we will be right into action and going forward. So, we have 4 difficulty settings. Easy, normal, hard are the regular ones. But we also have Path of the Damned. In Path of the Damned difficulty, enemies receive a bonus to most stats, and encounters have many more enemies. Warning, this option can't be changed in-game. It's only intended for players who want the most punishing encounters. We will not be playing Path of the Damned. Although, maybe if things get too easy and there's an option to switch to it, maybe I will. But the reason I'm not going to do it is because this game has a lot of mechanics. If you're familiar with Dungeons & Dragons, it's sort of on that level. There's a lot of dice rolling, a lot of different things you really have to calculate and know. So with it being my first time playing this game, I'm going to stick to hard mode. Now, there's also expert mode, which disables a number of helper features, but as it is, again, my first time playing, I'm going to go keep that off. And then the most brutal thing, Trial of Iron. In Trial of Iron mode, only one save file is kept for the entire playthrough. If the player is killed, the file is deleted and you must start again. This option can't be changed in-game. So I mean, if I was a masochist, I would probably choose Path of the Damned, Expert, and Trial of Iron. But I'm not. And also because I'm doing a recording of this, I'm definitely not going to choose Trial of Iron because I don't want the series to end abruptly and then having to start it all over. I don't think that's going to be very fun. But I will go ahead and play on hard mode. Suited for Infinity Engine veterans, which I am definitely not. I've actually never played with Infinity Engine. I am looking for a challenge. Maybe less so a challenge and more so of a fun aspect because I like to delve into the technical stuff. So anyways, on with the game. Obsidian Entertainment presents Pillars of Eternity.
Five wagons grope blindly for the path on a starless night, their master glancing ever upward to the skies for assurance that he is on the right course. A dim lantern his only protection against the encroaching darkness. But the skies bring no comfort, shining no light, betraying no hint of what they know. The caravan carries travelers bound for the frontier hamlet of Gilded Vale, you among them, where a local lord has offered land and wealth to settlers from abroad looking for a fresh start. You have taken suddenly ill, sweating and shivering, and one of the other travelers signals for the caravan master to stop on your behalf. He pulls up just in time to avoid plowing into the trunk of a fallen tree that bars the way ahead. You will go no further tonight.
Wait a second. So I am ill. Okay. So basically, if I wasn't ill, we would have been screwed. Is that what I'm getting here? So I saved the day. Everyone loves me, right? Great. Let's continue. Character creation. Now, I have fiddled with the character creation, and there are a ton of options to go through. I will cover a few. I will go over the basics right now. But if you guys like, I can go over all the 11 classes and the races and everything. For now, let's go ahead and make a character. Usually in RPGs, I like to go with a male two-hander that's right on the front lines and just swings a giant sword around. that is extremely tanky. Reason is, I don't like being in the back casting spells as my main guy. I like to give that job to my side characters. And in this game, you can actually have a total party of 6. So we can easily go 2-hand melee and have like 3 more spellcasters, a healer, and whatever else we want. So you start off with choosing your sex, of course, and then your race. So we have humans, Amawa, which are basically aquatic creatures. We have dwarves, elves, Orlans, that honestly to me look like a combination of dwarves and elves, although they are definitely not. And they would probably find this extremely racist. And my personal favorite, godlike. Look at that head. Oh my god, I am going godlike. Now, each one of these guys have different bonuses to their attributes. So, for example, the dwarfs get +2 might, -1 dexterity, but +1 constitution. In the end, all these stats balance out to +2 overall. So +1 resolve, -1 might, +2 perception. Godlike, +1 dexterity, +1 intellect. I'll go over what these do in just a moment. So, the godlike are children of the kith, civilized races, who have been blessed with physical aspects associated with the gods, though some do not consider it a blessing. These aspects may take many forms and often come with mystical powers. Aberrant head shapes are typical, and godlike are unable to wear protective headgear, as it's near impossible to find anything that fits. Because of their unusual nature and their inability to reproduce, godlike are often viewed with fear and wonder. So basically, I will sacrifice a headpiece for a special perk. So we have a sub-race for the godlike. Death godlike, fire godlike, moon godlike, and nature godlike. The death godlikes have a ability, Death's Usher. When death godlike attack an enemy with 25% or less endurance, their damage is increased. Now, before I continue further, let me explain endurance and health. So the way I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, you have health overall. So your character can have 100 health, and during battle, he has 20 endurance, as an example. So during the battle, he has 20 health. He can actually fall down to 0, and as long as your party lives through the battle, they win. He will come back to life with 20 less health. And same with him taking 10 damage in endurance will result in 10 damage to his health pool. But that also means that your health pool doesn't actually regenerate. That is something that is occurring outside of the battles. So when your health pool actually reaches 0, you're actually going to die. And there might be a mechanic that keeps you alive with a lot of debuffs the first time you get to that point, though I might just disable it. We'll see how that is. So that is endurance. Endurance is basically in battle health points that are then removed from your actual health points. They can be recovered through potions or resting and the such. So very important to I think understand that, because they're very different. So basically here, if an enemy is at 25 or less health, their damage is increased. Or my damage is increased. Fire godlikes. Look at that head. Look how badass that looks. God. I love this race so much. So they have an ability called Battle Forged. When reduced below 50% endurance, fire godlike glow like metal in a forge, gaining damage reduction and doing a small amount of fire damage to any creature who hits them in melee. Which is pretty cool. Basically, 50% endurance, that means in the actual fight I have to go below 50% health. No, my overall health can be like at 10%, it doesn't matter. As long as in battle, my endurance doesn't go below 50%, it won't count. This is pretty nice for melee defensive guys. Moon godlike. Look at that. It's pretty cool. We get Silver Tide every encounter. When reduced below 75, 50, and 25% endurance, Moon Godlike generate waves of healing moonlight that restore endurance to them and their allies. If I made a healer Godlike, definitely go with Moon. And Nature. Wellspring of Life grants a bonus to Might, Constitution, and Dexterity when endurance is below 50%. So that's pretty nice. But I think I'm going to go with Death Godlike because I'm going full on two-hander, smash everyone's face in. Death Godlikes are the most distrusted of their kind. Strange growth cover their eyes, or in some cases, entire face, giving them a sinister appearance. The growths are transparent for the godlike, but opaque from the outside, hiding their features. Death Godlike are commonly killed at birth because many cultures consider them to be harbingers of doom. Perfect. Now, unlike the other races, because of the way this race works, you can actually choose any of the body types. So I'm going to go with Amawa because they are the biggest. And if I'm going to be godlike, I'm going to be a big guy. Cool. So we're Death Godlike, and now we can choose our class, which is right here. We have 11 classes to choose from, which is kind of the reason I'm not going to go over every single one of them in this video. Now, I will probably make a separate video going over all the classes, all the races, all the different perks, and everything. But in order to just get into the game itself, and so you guys don't have to waste your time seeing things that I'm not going to be using currently, we're going to pick what we need. But we'll go over these real quick. So Barbarian, Fighter, and Paladin are all your typical melee classes. Cypher is a really weird one. Cyphers can directly target allies and enemies with powerful soul-focusing effects. The power costs focus, which Cyphers build through the use of their soul whip. So, if I recall correctly, I think it's the Cyphers that when they attack, they generate... is that Cyphers? One of these guys do. Actually, I don't remember. I'm not going to continue with that sentence because I'm not sure it was the Cyphers that are like that. But basically, they're a spellcaster class despite carrying a weapon. Then we have Rangers, which are just the archer class, Wizards, Chanters, which are basically your bards. This bard has an awesome two-handed weapon. Druids that can shapeshift into different kind of creatures. Now, they don't entirely become the creature they shapeshift into. They become like a were version of that, so like a werebear, werewolf, or the such. And they gain different benefits and downsides to each one of them. Monk is, of course, your typical no weapon, like fisticuffs class. Priest for the healing, and Rogue for the sneaking. I'm going to go ahead with the Barbarian, because that is a beastly class. So, brutes, madmen, berserkers, those city-dwelling people often use the term barbarian with dose of disrespect. These rural warriors are respected for their communities, by their communities for their ferocity and fearsome presence on the battlefield. Barbarians have a special, almost religious role in some cultures, but in many places, the undisciplined, fearless style of the barbarian is simply how warriors conduct themselves. We get a starting ability, Carnage. When Barbarian hit with melee attacks, they automatically make reduced damage attacks to all other enemies within a short distance of the target, which is really nice. So basically, whenever I hit somebody in melee range, I do a little bit of splash damage to everything. I get +2 athletics and +1 survival. And I start with very high endurance and very high health. And I believe this is the highest of any of the classes. My accuracy is average, and my deflection, which is basically the chance of not being hit at all, is pretty low, which is expected. But we will go ahead with the Barbarian. Now we get the option to choose between two abilities. We can choose Frenzy, which we can use 1 per encounter. We can get, when we use it, we get +4 Might, Constitution, and we get -10 Deflection. And also our health and endurance are concealed for 12 seconds. Now this game is played in real time, but it does have a pause feature. So 12 seconds is actually quite a long time to not be able to see what your health is at. So it's pretty nice. You get a nice bonus to damage and survivability through Constitution and Might, but you might be dying and you might not know it, so something to keep in mind. And the other ability is Barbaric Yell. You can use this twice per encounter. You have a 5-meter radius, and you basically do a fear effect for 12 seconds. I will go ahead with Frenzy because I think that's a lot of fun. And in the end, once we actually have proper tanks, I will want to just pummel everything into the ground. So let's go ahead with that. Attributes define a character's basic mental and physical strengths and weaknesses. They modify many gameplay statistics and are often used to unlock options in conversations, which is very big. Character creation allows you to choose which attributes your character will emphasize, but spells and items can further modify your attributes during gameplay. So, many of you may be familiar with sort of like the Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinders, like these these games that basically say from 10 to 11 it uses 1 point, from 17 to 18 it uses a different amount of points. Here it's all linear. So for Might, for example, I gain damage and healing as well as Fortitude. If I put in 1 point now, plus 3% damage and healing, plus 2 Fortitude. And I can do this up to 18, and it's linear. Each time 3% damage and healing, and plus 16 Fortitude overall. Now, note, Might, which you think is damage, also affects the healing. So if you're a healer, you might want to consider Might, because if you want to heal your heal to be stronger, you're going to want it. Constitution is your endurance and health, as well as Fortitude. And it shows you by a gold star that these two stats are the main ones for a Barbarian, which makes sense. Now, Dexterity affects action speed and reflex. Reflex is the ability to dodge. And the awesome thing about this game that I love, any of these red, whenever you see a word in red, you just roll over it and it tells you exactly what it does if you're unsure. So, if I wanted to, for example, dual wield, I can go with low might by high dexterity and just hit very often. We're gonna put a, let's go with 13 there. Let's drop this down. Perception is chance to interrupt deflection rate and reflex. Now, a rogue, for example, you can have it a rogue with low might, very high dexterity, and very high perception. He'll be able to interrupt a lot, and that is very nice. So you can really customize things depending on how you want to build it. Then we have Intellect. Now, Intellect is very different from most games. When you think of like Wizards as a main stat, you probably want to get Intellect. But in this case, Intellect only affects area of effect, duration, and gives you some will, which is magical defense. Now, because of his natural ability to do AoE, I'm going to go ahead and make sure I have at least an extra point in there. And then we have Resolve, which gives plus concentration and deflection as well as will. So this is pretty much defensive. Now, as you note, under Resolve shows plus 10 plus 1 Adir equals 11. Now, when I go to the next page, it allows me to select my culture, and that's where the Adir was. And there it shows you a plus 1 resolve. That way you won't think, oh, I have 11, let me drop that down to 10, and then when you switch from this, you'll go down to 9. Below 10, you actually start doing negative points. So that's something to keep in mind. So you want to keep your points at least at 10 usually. So now we have culture. Cultures all have their own backstories and different bonuses. I will go ahead with the living lands because it carries a two-handed sword and I get might +1. As you see, as I swap between these, some of these have spears and shields, some of these have two-handers, some of these guys dual wield. So it's very nice. This one has a giant spear. I'll go with the giant two-handed sword. Pretty nice. And we gain extra might, which I'm very happy about. The Living Lands is the mountainous region of the large northern island renowned for its diversity of plant and animal life. Its weather is unpredictable, and its ecosystems vary dramatically from valley to valley. The Living Lands are home to an assortment of races and a variety of colonial and independent settlements. Which is very cool. A lot of lore in this game, and it is really nice in that sense. So now we can choose our background. Again, each background has different bonuses to them, and a little bit of backstory. Now, I'll quickly go over the different types of bonuses you get. So survival gives you bonuses to food and consumables. Lore can give you different options when you talk to people. Athletics allow you to swim, climb, and such things much easier. Mechanics is basically lockpicking. And stealth is, of course, well, stealth. I think that's all of them. Yeah. I'm going to go with Laborer. Your life has been spent in the study of your craft. You trained and prepped, hoping to hone your skills and ply your trade. So I get +1 athletics and +1 mechanics. Now, mechanics is lockpicking, and usually you want to leave that to the rogues, but I always find that in RPGs, it's nice to have some kind of lockpicking ability early on, so you don't have to rely on finding lockpicks. That's my own personal thing. You guys can choose whatever you like. So here, we have the ability to change our primary and secondary colors. Primary colors are for the shirt, secondaries for the pants. So we can go with something pretty... Let's go with something a little brighter. I usually go like with a toned down thing. Maybe a bright orange. Is this the brightest orange we can do? It is. I really like the color orange, but that's not really bright. You're pretty bright. You know what? Let's go with orange for the top. Yeah, let's go with that. And how do you want the bottom? Something like that. Now we can change these colors at any time once we're in the game, so don't worry about it. If this looks weird right now, it might look weirder when I start putting hot pink. Yeah. You know what? I'm keeping that. I'm keeping that hot pink. Where's the purple? Yeah, let's go with that. There we go. This is going to be our Barbarian. And we have 3 different head shapes to choose from. Oh, sorry about that. I really need to get better at actually turning that off. And one of you subscribe to me. Thank you very much. Okay, so we have 3 different head shapes. This one, which personally I think is awesome as hell, but it just looks like a giant helmet. Yes, we're not going to be able to wear any helmets, and as a barbarian, we're probably going to have pretty heavy armor, but I don't know. I'm not feeling it. We have this one, which is actually my personal favorite. Like, look at that effect. That is an awesome effect. And I like how the eyes are covered. And then, of course, the one we were just looking at, with the 2 giant horns. I really like this one, personally. I don't know. Yeah, I like that. I wish that was a little pointier on top. It would be a little cooler. But let's continue. So we have portraits to choose from. We have 66 options, but 33 of them are male, 33 of them are female. So don't think there's 66 options for males. The other thing is, you can actually go ahead and locate the directory for this, I believe, and put in your own images to customize how it looks. So, it's pretty cool. Click Next, and we can change our voice.
Yes. Follow me. Attack!
My eyes are peeled. I've got this.
You can also do no voice at all, but that's no fun.
No prisoners!
I think that fits us perfectly. We're a barbarian that's death godlike. I think if we didn't go sinister, that would just be silly. And let's enter our name. Krozjin. And that's our character. Now, it has been already over 25 minutes, and we just finished character creation. This is why I didn't want to go over every little thing, at least in this video. One other thing that, in case I forgot to mention, there's a lot of voice narration, and so I won't be talking during that time so you guys can hear the actual gameplay. The Caravan Master finishes addressing the group, his bushy red mustache and sagging jowls quivering as if for emphasis.
Everybody stays close to the wagons, got it? Stay out of the woods, and beasts take you if you were planning a stroll through those ruins up there.
He nods toward a looming black mass on the hillside.
Whole area's crawling with hut-dwelling types who'd be happy to stick an axe in you for trespassing. So mind that you don't track mud on their sacred blazing rocks. Tonight, everybody stays put, and in the morning we'll get the path cleared. Gilded Vale's less than a day out. Understood?
At last the Caravan Master turns to you, frowning as he looks you over. Now hold on a second. I saved you guys, sort of. And I wasn't the one that asked to pull over and stop. That was this other person, whoever it is.
Touch of the rumbling rot, could be. There's a stinging beetle round here, carries it. You'll be fine once it passes your innards. Unless you don't drink water, course. Which case you'll be dead in a day.
Okay, note to self, drink lots of water.
There's a berry grows in these parts, small and pink, called a springberry, about the size of a fingernail. Give you cramps if you eat it, but the frontiersmen make a tea from it. Calms the insides. Should get you through the night. You might check around, see if you can find some. Meanwhile, I'll see if we can scare you up some water.
Hold on a second. I'm the one going out? Aren't I the sick one? Why am I going out? Send some of your other guys to go out and get it. I'm sick.
I know you want to hunt before it gets much darker, but see about refilling our water first. Got a sick one here.
Dima looks over his shoulder at his assistant, a lanky, intense man named Sparful, who carries an old sun-bleached bow. Okay. So he's getting water. One of you guys want to get the berries? No? Okay. Oh, yeah. So where do I find these berries?
Grow on a bush that's common round here, kind of funny looking. You'll know it when you see it. Doubt you'd have to go far off the road to find one.
You know, I find it picking at bushes with berries is kind of bad when you don't know what they are. Some of them are poisonous.
Nothing you won't see on half the hills of Air Glonfoth. Money to be made selling their knickknacks in Defiance Bay if you don't mind getting stuck with Glonfoth and arrows now and again. They didn't build them, but I'll be the effigy if they don't watch them like a mother bear. Of course, all the ones around here have been ransacked 10 times over. Got nothing left worth half a pawn, so I hear.
Okay. Who did build the ruins?
Got different names for them. Settlers called them Ingwithans. Nobody that liked them enough to stop them becoming ruins, tell you that much.
Is it? Yeah, I'd like to know if it's dangerous.
Not if you hurry about your business.
So the short answer is yes.
And not if the weather holds up.
There's a concern in his tone, but he does not elaborate. Where's the question to elaborate?
This time of year, rain mostly, and wind. But there's a different kind of wind out here time to time. Locals call it a beowick, born out of the ether, The spirit's path. Never seen it myself, never cared to.
I'm so glad he pronounced Beowick for me, because if I saw that in text form and he wasn't doing a voice, oh my god, I would not know what to say. And let's just find out, what are those
They
rocks?
don't got Adra where you come from? Well, it just grows up out of the ground like this. Goes deep like tree roots. Some of it all the way to the heart of the world, you believe the stories. It's more like a shell than a proper rock. Easier to work if you're a mason. Got all kinds of strange properties. Seems to have some kind of life of its own. Dies if it gets dug up. Loses its luster. Folks think it probably grew at one point or another, but not these days. The soul butchers in Defiance Bay use it for different things. I've heard tell it can hold a man's soul, but I don't care to see it. Got enough to worry about without seeing something like that.
Okay, well then let's go get our berries.
Hold on. Take someone with you. I know you're not some helpless tenderfoot, not like most of this lot. But you drop dead, I don't want to be looking for the body. Got a schedule to keep.
Scans over to the travelers, resting his eyes at length on a sturdy, armor-clad woman who has spent the journey's night sleeping on uneven ground without a blanket or pillow. Ow, that sounds not pleasant at all.
Kalisha. Kalisha!
The woman looks up on her own time.
He needs to find some springberries. Watch that he doesn't drop dead.
No promises.
What kind of guide says something like that?
Kind you can afford.
I like her already.
Don't listen to her. You're in good hands. And I pay too well, if anything. Off with you. Hayden should have supplies. See that you're equipped before you head out. We're in harsh country. Get your berries and hurry back. And if you get so much as a tickle of wind, you drop everything and you run. Something in the air tonight. If it's a Beowick, we'll shelter in the ruins. Hut dwellers be damned.
You heard the man.
Okay.
Let's get going before you keel over.
And we're finally in the game. So yeah, this episode is a little slow, because we spend most of it in character creation, so you don't have to excuse me. And so let me explain the very basics here. So we have our two characters.
What is it?
We have them down here, and go
Yes.
ahead and select them and have our different abilities. We have all our different inventory and the such here, camping, characters, so we can check them out. Check out their stats. So she has slightly less might. And con, she has higher resolve, I want to say resist, and higher perception. So you can check all of that out, which is pretty cool. See some stats about them. The personal information within the party or them. Different stats. And then I can also go ahead and go into the inventory for the individual people and see what they have. And these are the two colors, secondary and primary, and that's why I said we can change them at any time. So what does we have? We have a great sword. Now, speed is slow, that means he's not going to be quick with attacking with it. The interrupt is pretty nice, 0.75 seconds, which is really nice if he gets that interrupt off. The damage is slash and pierce, which is nice because that means I think there's 3 types: slashing, piercing, and blunt. I'm pretty sure. Basically, when you have multiple types like slash and pierce, it will just choose whatever one is better. Now, quick note, you might see in the right below it says base 14 to 20 versus deflection. The base is the actual damage of the sword, but because of my might, the damage is actually 17 to 25, which is really nice. And we start with a scale armor. Now, we get 7 damage reduction, but 35% lower recovery speed. That means between attacks, the time it takes to recover is going to be 35% slower. So the heavier your armor, the slower you are. Something to keep in mind. If you're building a really quick rogue type character that wants to like dual wield and just focus on interrupts, you might want to focus on armor that gives very little recovery speed negatives, or just not wear any armor at all. And she is dual wielding. She's just going to be attacking slightly faster. And she has the same kind of armor. Okay. I'm cool with that. So that's our characters. So we can go ahead and move forward. What do we have? We have some places to open up. Now I have played through like the first 10 minutes of the game. With the 10 minutes not including any talking or conversations. I just skipped right through it because I didn't want to spoil anything like that for myself. So we have 0 damage reduction, 0 recovery speed. I'll go ahead and put in my stash, which is actually infinite space, so we can sell it later. We have a lock chest. So you see, it's a 0 mechanics plus 1 lockpicks or 1 mechanics. So I can skip using a lockpick and just use 1 mechanics, which is what I'm going to do. So that is opened. And I'm going to go ahead and extend this out. And this gives you all the different stats. I'm sure some of you guys will like to see all the stuff once, especially we get into battles. So I'll keep that open. Plus it's nice to see for yourself. We have Potion of Minor Endurance, 50% endurance regeneration, which is really nice. I'll give him that. And I'll actually go ahead and equip it on his quick items. So if I select him, there it is. Very cool. Do we have anything else around here? We have something right over there.
As you wish.
Let's check this out, though. These tall, glass green pillars appear as if they have sprouted from the earth. The flickering fire sets shadows dancing within. We have 10 copper and Potion of Minor Regeneration. 20 endurance over 12 seconds. I will give this to you and put the rest in the stash. And really quickly equip it on her. I'll select both of you guys.
Anyone need supplies? I've got sundries for sale.
So what do we have? You see a man wearing a simple but mostly neat clothes. He's transfixed, however, by a ragged tear in the seam of his tunic.
Brought a whole wagon full of goods to sell, but not enough shirts for the road.
Trade you.
Say, is there anything you need? I've got some basic traveling supplies for sale if you'd like to take a look.
Let's see what you got. So, we can buy a hunting bow. So we can buy the basic weapons. Shields. Leather armor. Padded armor. So yeah, like if you want to do a rogue with quick attacks, you probably either do padded armor, which has only minus 20% recovery speed penalty, or just not wear anything. We have the mechanics, so I'm not going to get lockpicks. We only have 110 gold. And there's no point in picking any of these up. Right now, at least. Let's talk to you real quick.
Something else you need? Looks
Who are
I'm a
you?
trader, originally from the Adir Empire, but I've been trying to establish new business out here. Life on the road has brought some unexpected challenges, to be sure. And I'm sure you've noticed how prickly the locals can be. But we're here to make the most of things, right?
Okay. Now, quick note. If you have an option enabled, you might see that it says this is a cruel response, this is a nice response, etc. And people have their different preferences. I have that disabled. It is hidden. The benefits and are still there, but I don't know what is best to choose. So this is purely the way I like to play it. I don't want to know and pick the best option each time. I'd rather pick the option that I feel is right. So, how incredibly naive. I'm surprised you've lasted this long. If you think these caravanners are prickly, watch out for those actuator. Let's go with this one. He'll ask, that's excellent advice indeed. Yep. And it tells you about the reputations, which I have turned off currently. Tell me about the
It's
Adir
not
Empire.
as big as it used to be, but it's still big. The mainland is a continent northwest of here, but the colonies used to include Raed Saris and the Deerwood. About 150 years ago, Deerwood won its independence from the Empire, a fact our companions are quick to remind me of.
And why did you move all the way out here?
Because it seemed friendlier than Raed Saris? My brothers took over the family mercantile business a few years ago, and there wasn't enough for me to do back home. I moved out to try and expand.
Deerwood is former Adar colony, so it seems like a good place to start. And as much as I admire the Red Sarens work ethics, they're always struck at me as a little fanatical. That sounds reasonable. Well, I'd better go. Okay, guys, I'm gonna call it here. I know we just pretty much got into the game, but the character creation did take us a really long time. But next time, we'll be going right into battle, and it should start being very exciting. Hopefully. The other thing is, since this is the very beginning, and it is an RPG in the end, it is going to be a little slow. There's going to be a lot of talking and lore, so that's just something to keep in mind. But as we progress through the game, we'll have a lot more action, and it'll get a lot more interesting and chaotic. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye. Or is it? You know what? Let's do it. 2 on each side is fine. I'm using one way going out into this 2-lane road, so that way it can eat again.
And now the true test. Hold fast, or expire.
Eat. Just get out of death's door. Okay.